Hi, Danny.
Hey, Danny. Thanks for coming here.
So you put Santa Monica and Highland on the map.
It's about time.
I can imagine all the tourists coming to say, we gotta go over there. Because the TCA tour goes right by there, so it's gonna be very, very interesting.
Oh, wow. I wonder if you think
I felt excited when I drove by Donut Time the first time after seeing the movie. Oh, look, there it is.
Nobody knows this. Donut Time actually makes a mean sandwich. When we were shooting there, I had some of their fresh bread. It's amazing.
I love this movie. I didn't know I was gonna go see it. I like to be pleasantly surprised. I heard things about it. I'm always walking by there all the time, so I see all the characters, but I love the locations. Talk about the locations, because I thought that was key.
We definitely wanted to stay geographically accurate. I think that stems from, I think Scorsese said he did it one time, I think with Taxi Driver. And it's just something that, it means a lot. I mean, if you know the city, you kind of want to stay, you want audiences who know the city to also appreciate the fact that you did that. We only break it once. We cheat one time, and that's the, I won't even tell you.
Yeah, that'll be sort of a trivia question later.
But yeah, the locations, we have two wonderful producers on this film, Darren Dean and Shi-Ching Zhou, and they were able to get these locations for next to nothing, which is, for LA, in which people are, savvy about the industry and filmmaking, it's nearly impossible. So they did, it was quite a feat. With Donut Time though, I was like, I'm not going to make this film unless we get Donut Time, because it's such a landmark.
And when you see the Donut Time scenes in the film, those are actual customers. We couldn't own it.
Yeah.
So we just had to chase after them with the release forms.
That's what James told us.
Oh yeah.
Did anyone say, no way, I don't want to be in your film?
There were a few people on, they didn't say no way, but they tried to get some
$300.
Yeah, not even, but we couldn't even afford, I think we got up to the $100 mark before saying, I guess we're going to have to lose that shot. And that happened on the bus.
I love the bus scene. I thought that was brilliant, and how you could get that to work like that. That's not easy.
Thanks. Well, it was really just our two wonderful actresses, Mickey and Kiki, just going forward and being fearless in that scene. So
they're both troopers. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, have you all seen the film yet? Mm-hmm. Do you remember when Dinah falls when they're getting on the bus? That's a real fall.
Fall. And
she just kept going with it. She didn't break character.
I thought the shoot was over at that moment. Actually, I was just like, I couldn't run after her and see if she was okay because the bus took off. So I was about to vomit. I didn't know, I saw her hit the ground so hard, and then I think it was somebody from the bus, one of our producers was on the bus saying, I think we're gonna have to go to the hospital. It was scary.
And yes, perfect for the scene.
And then the first thing Mickey said was, you better use that shot.
Yeah.
Well, Sean, what fascinates you about this core group of actors that keep showing up and you keep calling? I mean, what
like
can they do?
And James.
Yeah. And what do they do for Maya and Kiki?
What do they do for them?
What on the shoot? Was there any advice or any?
Oh no! You know what? To tell you the truth, this was the first time out in which my first time actors felt like their confidence level was on the same level as James Ranson and the others, and I think it was partly because of the iPhone, that was one of the benefits of the iPhone that revealed themselves to us as we were shooting. It's because we're using a device that they own themselves. So between takes, they would whip out their own smartphone and take selfies of each other. There was no intimidation factor. Usually first-time actors, it takes about a week for them to get over that hub of having a camera in their face. And so they didn't really have, in the past, I've seen how seasoned actors usually help coach, and for example, with Starlet, Dree really helped with the Sedka. But in this film, no. From the first day, Kiki and Maya were just as professional as everybody else. And I remember one time, PJ came up to me and said, Maya's really good. And I'm like, I know.
A lot of people are calling this film the film that was shot on the iPhone. Is that something that you guys embrace, or would you rather have this film be known for something other than just being shot on an iPhone?
Well, I think it started as a budgetary thing, and we certainly didn't really make that very well known before Sundance. And then people saw it at Sundance at the premiere in January, and they saw the credits, and I guess that's when that buzz started. We hope that people could see the film. Our fear, I guess, at first was that we didn't want to tell people because it would be read as a gimmick, and it absolutely wasn't. It was just Sean's done 5 features. I think you were out of favors at that point, and we just sort of we all had an iPhone 5S in our pockets, and I don't think you would have done it without the. We did a lot of tests, and there's the Moondog Labs anamorphic adapter that we use, and we did the test with that, and I think that's what convinced you.
Yeah, that and that app called Filmic Pro, it allowed us to shoot at 24 frames a second and have all these bells and whistles. But yeah, it was that point where we were all feeling a little bit like this is a step back. This is not good for our careers. This is amateur hour. But we had to then say no. If we don't all embrace this and say that we're creating a new aesthetic here, then we're going to fail. And so I had to basically do the riot act, where it's like, if you're not going to take this 100% seriously, as serious as you would take any other production, you can't be involved. And yeah, so, and it was hard for me. I love celluloid.
Yeah.
I'm mourning the death of celluloid. If I had my choice, I would have shot this on 70 millimeter.
Yeah.
But it was something that we had to do, and then we just made the most of it.
I looked at it like this. I forgot that it was the iPhone shot.
That's awesome.
Because I didn't care, because it was that good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
I'm glad.
That's how I saw it. And I also looked at this film as being, because I was there when Clerks was done.
Oh.
That's this year's Clerks. That's
Oh,
how I
wow.
see this film.
That's
That's good.
That's a
And it is. That's how I see it. So talk about that, and what does Tangerine mean to you guys?
Oh, if I can, just to finish up on your question real quick. So we certainly would embrace it, though, if that's what's putting it on people's radar, and then hopefully they see the film, right?
But we don't want to be obviously remembered as just the iPhone movie.
Right.
I
It's a
think.
good iPhone movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an aesthetic, like you guys said, and we try to not make it look like just video.
Right. But
Tangerine.
So
many reasons, and we're kind of keeping it up to the audience, leaving it up to the audience as well.
I should
It's
ask
not-
you what you think. With Starlit, we had sort of a double meaning. Our last film that we wrote together was a movie called Starlit, and it was about a young 21-year-old in the Valley who happened to be an adult film starlet, but also her dog is named Starlit, and there's a couple meanings. So this one, I think, we went the other way, where we wanted to
just a non-literal
ambiguous.
title. It was a dominant color in the film, and we allude to little hints here and there. I mean, there's like the citrus air freshener and stuff like that. But for the most part, it was just like that sense and what you get from the color and the fruit of tangerine.
Talk about the casting also. All performers were great. Talk about that, what you were looking for when you wrote this.
Well, okay, I was extremely lucky to find Maya Taylor, because not only is she incredibly talented, but she was also had that enthusiasm that I was looking for, and she was our passport to that world.
Yeah.
Right. So that was one of those things. Chris and I went into that world not being from that world. The only respectful and responsible way of doing it would be to collaborate with someone, and that was Maya. And Maya introduced us to Kiki, and so it was for my film Prince of Broadway. It's the same thing. Finding Prince Adu. He was the one guy from that district who just showed complete enthusiasm and was like, he was actually pushing me to make the movie the whole time. He was like, when are we gonna make it? When are we gonna make it? And that's almost what happened in this case. Maya was there. She was always. We would meet regularly at the Jack in the Box.
Yeah, what is that, Highland, by the
La Brea.
La Brea, by the Sizzler?
Oh no,
It's
it's
right there.
It's Highland
Highlands.
Fountain.
Yeah.
And we would just hear her stories, hear anecdotes, and she would introduce us to people regularly. She would bring people in and be like, "This is Alfred."
Yeah, some of those people
this
are
is-
in the color wall
yeah,
scene in the movie.
yeah. And it was that time when we met Kiki, and Kiki sat down next to Maya. Chris and I were sitting across from them at the booth, and it was just like, there's our dynamic.
Such a contrast.
Yeah,
that
they had this contrasting thing, yet they complemented each other, and they were funny, and they were finishing each other's sentences and setting it each other's jokes and delivering punchlines. It was amazing. It was like watching stand up, and that was what got us there.
I just want to add that, a lot of people tell, there's always that thing, write what you know. A lot of times Sean and I like to write what we don't know, but along with that you have a responsibility, and we do like months of research. And so like you said, I was really lucky to, we didn't know what we were going to, what story we wanted to tell at first necessarily. We knew certain elements, and we wanted to find people who would tell us their stories from that walk of life, and it was fate.
Such a loving portrait of them. Were there, I know you did a lot of talking with them beforehand, but then with the script, were there ever moments just in terms of the experience of trans women where either one of them said like, no, this is not the way this should go? Or
interesting enough, after Maya Taylor sort of greeted us with open arms, she did have a couple of I don't know if you want to call them caveats or a mandate that she gave Sean, where she said, if you were going to do this movie, she had a couple of requests. She wanted us to make it funny, but she also wanted to
brutal realism.
Yeah, brutal realism, which is a very interesting tightrope to walk.
And I was like, what are you asking of us? That's a hard balancing act. But so that was something that she brought to the table, and I think that saying that to us really dictated the whole style of the movie. It went way more towards comedy than my previous films because of that. And then they were very much involved with all stages of production, except for in post-production. Maya decided, I don't want to see anything until you have a cut. But Kiki would actually come by my apartment. Like every time I had 10 minutes cut, she would come in and give me her notes, and for the most part she loved it. There was one time, it was near the end of the film, in the donut time sequence, I put down a track of music that I think almost was just inappropriate. It was almost made it into a farce, and it totally like ruined this sort of objective look. And she was the first one to call me out on it, and she was like, take that track out of there. And then the next day, I thought about it, like, she's right. Thank God there was this collaborative process all the way through, because it really needed their voice.
Want to hear that from
but it needed their voice, and we were I was just always, from the very beginning, we knew that that they had a lot to say, and that they were bringing a lot to the table. So it was nothing but positivity that they were bringing.
And just going back to what you asked, I think that Sean has a really cool knack for combining people who have never been in front of a camera before with seasoned vets like James Ranson. He's been in The Wire, lots of movies, Sinister 2's coming out. So when you mix that two together, it's this really interesting formula, I think, where like they both rub off on each other in a certain way, and they both like sort of elevate each other's game in a way. It's really interesting to see happen on set.
One of the things I really valued about it was the rich characterizations. Like Rosnick's family, they're all differentiated, they're all interesting, and I loved the scenes in the cab early in the film, which are interesting for the pacing, partly. I assume that's partly why you did it, but this fantastic scene with Clue.
Oh yeah, you did good.
I mean, they're all extremely memorable.
It's a Hollywood legend, Clue.
And his son.
And you noticed him in the movie, John. That's how Clue came into our world, because we had known John Gulager, who directed the Feast trilogy and Piranha 3DD, Hasselhoff's Finest Sour, and he.
Going back to the pacing, sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
Is the pacing in your script? Is it the editing process? I mean, it seems so important to this movie and sort of the comedic kind of propelling.
It's a little bit of both. I guess that you're always rewriting and you're writing the film again and for the third time when you get to post-production. And I think in this case, part of the pacing came from the music as well. It was that beat that I was going for that I didn't find until post-production, when we found this trap music that really kind of fit with that world. And then suddenly we were cutting to the beats and cutting to the music. So I think that sort of dictated a pace as well.
I would visit Sean's apartment, I would say, like once or twice a week.
Right.
And we would find certain things in the edit. We reorganized the whole Joey the Doormat sequence, how that happens in the film. Things like that. So yeah, I guess you could say we're rewriting even in the edit.
Before Karina takes you away, talk about the last, the donut scene. That's my favorite scene in there. How was that?
that was one of the only things that Chris and I went in with a vision of. We went in there saying, we don't really know what the story is yet. We think it takes place on one day because of budgetary reasons. We can't have costume changes, and we know that maybe two people are trying to find each other, but we don't know exactly whether this will be a love story or a friendship story or a revenge story. But we do know that all the characters have to converge at the very end at donut time. That's one thing that we have to.
Yeah, he's talking about the initial meeting with Maya Taylor that first day.
What? Oh, when
Yeah,
he first
this is
talked
what we,
to
this is
yes,
what we
yes,
told Maya
yeah,
the first day, just to be clear.
And it was, I have to say, it's very influenced by Mike Lee. That I have to be transparent about that one. I mean, Mike Lee's Secrets and Lies and High Hopes, in which all the characters come together and a lot is revealed and a lot of personalities rub off on each other. That was very influenced by that.
Sean, when we spoke, you said this film, the shooting left you in tatters. Left the filmmakers in tatters. I mean, how did the principal?
Well, it was very emotionally draining. I mean, like this
more
world
so
that
than
we're.
The last?
Yeah, I think so, because we're focusing on the most vulnerable, group of people. I mean, they're trans women of color who are sex workers. I mean, their lives are not great, and they're out there because they have no other choice. They are dealing with discrimination, hardship, violence, everything. It's just, and it was, and to witness that, even though we were making a comedy and in these comedic moments every day, I think after we walked away and started editing, I think it was just the weight of it came down. And this was the hardest film to get. Like, I think afterwards it was like this big, oh my God, that was, as I just said, extremely emotionally draining.
We had an emotional day when we shot the laundry room.
Yes.
Scene, the last scene in the film.
That was very.
They don't. I mean, that's their hair. I mean,
yeah, they were very brave to do that scene, and we could only shoot that one time. That was a one take, and we had to have PAs in the parking lot, who are basically our producers, making sure that nobody could see in to respect their privacy.
Right.
And
because their colleagues are out on the street, and
Yeah. So that was one of those, but just the bravery that they displayed, and then also their trust. I couldn't ask for any more than just this trust that they gave to us and we gave to them.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Of course.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is what happened when Clerks came out. Exact same thing like this.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Cool. That's a nice case.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for everybody.
Thank you.
for covering this.
All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, when we make small movies like this, it's great to get the word out anyway. Yeah, it's nice.
All right.
Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Okay, Sean.